Imagine waking up to a breakfast so massive, so overwhelmingly packed with fresh vegetables, creamy cheeses, sizzling eggs, smoked fish, and warm breads that it barely even fits on the table. You might think this colossal morning feast was designed by a Michelin-starred chef or invented for royalty at a luxury resort, but you would be entirely wrong. This epic 15-plate morning spread was actually created entirely by accident, by exhausted, sweaty socialist farmers living in the middle of the desert. Welcome back to the Morning Munch, where we explore the most fascinating, bizarre, and delicious morning rituals from around the globe. Today we are traveling to the Middle East to decode a culinary phenomenon that has completely taken over boutique hotels and trendy cafes worldwide. We are talking about the Israeli breakfast. If you have ever ordered one of these, you know the sheer panic and delight of watching a waiter bring out plate after plate after plate until your entire table is a mosaic of tiny bowls. It is a meal that defies the standard Western concept of breakfast. There are no sugary cereals here. There are no stacks of syrupy pancakes, and you will certainly not find a single strip of bacon. Instead, you get a sprawling, colorful, wildly diverse spread that looks more like a grand dinner banquet than a quick morning bite. But how did this happen? How did a country smaller than the state of New Jersey invent a breakfast that requires a map to navigate? The answer lies in a bizarre collision of utopian socialism, strict religious dietary laws, desperate agricultural innovation, and a massive culture clash. Before we dive into the weird history, we need to understand exactly what we are dealing with. An authentic Israeli breakfast is not just a dish, it is an absolute onslaught of components. It regularly features 15 or more separate items. At the center, you typically have eggs. This might be a perfectly executed omelet packed with fresh herbs, or the globally beloved shakshuka, eggs poached in a rich, spicy, bubbling sauce of tomatoes, chili peppers, and garlic. Surrounding the eggs is a galaxy of dips and spreads. You have hummus, freshly made and warm. You have tahini, a rich sesame paste. There is labneh, an intensely tangy, thick-strained yogurt, usually swimming in local olive oil and dusted with za'atar, a wild thyme and sesame spice blend. But we are just getting started. Then comes the dairy. We're talking feta cheese, tzfatit, a semi-hard, salty sheep's milk cheese, and mountains of creamy spreads. Next to the dairy, you have the fish, pickled herring, smoked salmon, or cured mackerel. And then the absolute star of the show, the thing that truly separates this from any other breakfast in the world, the vegetables. We are not talking about a sad, singular slice of tomato as a garnish. We are talking about massive bowls of finely diced, incredibly fresh Israeli salad. Cucumbers, tomatoes, onions, and bell peppers dressed simply in lemon juice and olive oil. You'll also find roasted eggplants, pickled cabbage, marinated carrots, and whole olives. Add to this a basket overflowing with fresh bread, challah, pita, or sourdough, along with butter, artisan jams, fresh fruit, strong coffee, and freshly squeezed orange juice. It is an overwhelming, luxurious mountain of food. But the irony, this meal was born out of absolute, grueling hardship. To understand the origin of this massive feast, we have to travel back to the early 1900s, long before the modern state of Israel was even founded. During this time, waves of Jewish immigrants, mostly from Eastern Europe, were arriving in the region. Many of these immigrants were idealistic socialists. They wanted to build a new type of society based on absolute equality, shared labor, and communal living. They established agricultural settlements called kibbutzim. In a kibbutz, nobody owned anything privately. The land was shared, the money was shared, the children were raised communally, and most importantly for our story, the meals were eaten together in a giant central dining hall known as the Hadar Ochel. Life on the early kibbutz was brutally difficult. The climate was an unforgiving, scorching desert. To survive the lethal midday sun, the farmers had to wake up in the pitch black, usually around 4 a.m., to go work the fields. They would labor intensely for hours, burning thousands of calories digging, planting, and harvesting in the dust. By the time 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock a.m. rolled around, the sun was too hot for heavy labor, and the workers were absolutely starving. They would retreat from the fields and gather in the communal dining hall for their first real meal of the day. Because this meal had to sustain them through intense physical labor, a simple piece of toast or a bowl of porridge simply wouldn't cut it. They needed a massive, restorative feast. The kibbutz breakfast became the most important, calorically dense, and socially significant meal of the day. But wait, if they needed so many calories for hard labor, why is there absolutely no meat in this massive spread? No sausage, no bacon, no steak? This brings us to the second major factor: kosher dietary laws. According to traditional Jewish dietary laws, meat and dairy cannot be consumed together. Because these communal dining halls had to accommodate everyone, they kept strict kosher kitchens. Serving meat in the morning would mean they couldn't serve milk for their coffee, butter for their bread, or cheese of any kind. Dairy was much cheaper and easier to produce locally than meat, so the kibbutz kitchens made a practical decision. Breakfast and dinner would be strictly dairy and plant-based, while meat was reserved exclusively for the midday lunch. This combination of intense physical hunger and strict religious dietary constraints accidentally birthed a nutritional masterpiece. Without relying on heavy, greasy breakfast meats, the kibbutz cooks had to fill the caloric void with healthier, varied alternatives. Nutritionally, it was the perfect storm. The workers received complex carbohydrates from the freshly baked bread to replenish their glycogen stores. They got massive amounts of high-quality protein from the eggs and the vast array of locally produced cheeses. They consumed incredibly healthy, slow-burning fats from olive oil, tahini, and avocados, which kept them full for hours. And most crucially, they ingested a phenomenal amount of fiber, vitamins, and hydration from the massive portions of fresh, water-dense vegetables. It was quite literally the ultimate performance meal, created entirely by accident by farmers just trying to follow the rules and survive the heat. But the ingredients reveal a fascinating cultural collision. The early pioneers were mostly from cold Eastern European countries like Russia and Poland. At first, they tried to eat what they knew: heavy stews, potatoes, and dark rye bread. But the blistering Middle Eastern sun laughed at their potatoes. Heavy stews just made them sluggish in the desert heat. Out of sheer necessity, they looked to what the local Arab and Sephardic populations were eating: light, cooling, water-rich foods. They quickly adopted Levantine staples, swapping animal fats for olive oil and embracing tomatoes, hummus, and labneh. Yet they didn't completely abandon their roots. They kept their pickled herring, cottage cheese, and European breads. The result? A chaotic, delicious melting pot where a cold Russian fish sits right next to warm Arab-style hummus. Now you might be wondering, how do you get all these lush, water-heavy vegetables in the middle of a barren desert? The answer is sheer, desperate innovation. To sustain their vegetable-heavy diets, early farmers had to reinvent agriculture entirely. This led to one of the most important inventions of the 20th century: modern drip irrigation. Invented in Israel in the 1960s, this technology released water slowly, drop by drop, directly to plant roots instead of wastefully spraying it into the desert sun. This completely transformed the landscape, turning arid sand into blooming greenhouses. That technological triumph is the exact reason why a massive, freshly chopped vegetable salad is the mandatory star of every single Israeli morning. Before we wrap up, there are two bizarre facts about this breakfast culture you won't believe. First, Israelis are culturally obsessed with cottage cheese. It is such a sacred breakfast staple that in 2011, when corporations quietly tried to raise its price, hundreds of thousands of Israelis literally took to the streets. The massive cottage cheese boycott successfully forced the government to lower prices. You simply do not mess with their breakfast cheese. Second, the ultimate nostalgic breakfast, especially for kids heading to school, is the incredibly simple cucumber sandwich. Forget peanut butter and jelly. We're talking about a thick layer of creamy white cheese topped with crisp cucumbers between two slices of fresh bread. It is crunchy, hydrating, and a direct descendant of the early kibbutz diet. So, the next time you find yourself overwhelmed by a 15-plate breakfast spread, take a moment to appreciate the history. You aren't just eating a hotel buffet, you are tasting the legacy of exhausted pioneers, strict dietary laws, a beautiful cultural clash, and a technological triumph over the desert sand. If this deep dive made you hungry for more incredible food history, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe right here at the Morning Munch. What country's breakfast should we investigate next? Drop a comment down below and I will see you in the next video. Stay hungry, my friends.